all the work they did and continue to do about school resource deputies, as well as their input into these ordinance and process changes. And also the Office of Inspector General, especially Dara Williams, about the reporting that they did. You can find the reports about school resource deputies on the Inspector General's website, and also they continue to be fully engaged in this process. And we also have had the opportunity to work closely with LACO, with the Department of Youth Development, Office of Violence Prevention, in terms of soliciting feedback about this. And also the Human Relations Commission has been very helpful and long time involved parties in the issues around school resource deputies. Mostly, I'd like to say thank you to the LA Sheriff's Department. This has been really my first time since I started 3.5 years ago interacting directly with the Sheriff's Department. And they've made this process very simple in terms of helping us to complete the directives. And also, I think you've probably heard at our meetings that they are very open to changes that hopefully go beyond the scope of this specific directive that will help bring even more accountability to the issues of complaints brought against school resource deputies. But as I said, the reason we're here is for you. So I want to get down to business. I'm going to share some information about how you can participate, but I'll say it again when we get to that part in the agenda. You're welcome to send us an email at info@poc.lacounty.gov if you don't want to talk on the recorded line today. We are recording, and we also encourage you to speak up during the meeting. You have to be logged on to WebEx in order to do that. You can't participate via YouTube, but you are welcome to watch it there now or later. And also, if you have any technical questions, feel free to put those in the chat, but please don't put your public comment in the chat because that makes it hard for us to get it. So we'd really appreciate the email, and Janae has put the email in the chat box. If you want to provide public comment when we get there, just click on the little raise your hand calling in. You just need to press *3 on your phone, and that puts you on the list. And we will call you in order. We're not going to do a clock today, but I would ask that you try to be as brief as possible so that everyone has a chance to speak. Buenas tardes, bienvenidos. Ya hemos iniciado la conferencia por WebEx. Si le gustaría hacer un comentario en español, por favor haga clic en la manita o oprima *3 en su teléfono y le llamaremos. Podemos proveer traducción o usted puede proveer traducción. We'd ask for you to follow these communication guidelines during today's town hall. Please introduce yourself. Please share your thoughts. Be respectful of time so as many people can speak as possible. Remain respectful to our fellow attendees and the audience. Demeaning or abusive statements toward anyone are not tolerated. Please honor equity and participation. Practice grace and openness with each other and use I statements to speak your own truth. We're going to go straight into the slideshow here so we can talk about some of the changes. As many of you know, because many of you who are on the call have attended our previous meetings, this all started in December of, well, that's not true. It started a long time ago. And in fact, many of you and myself have been working on issues around school resource deputies and school resource officers for decades. But this process started in December when the board passed a motion that required us to do a number of things. And by us, I mean specifically the Probation Oversight Commission, but also my colleagues at County Council, who have been extraordinarily helpful in leading this process, in redrafting the ordinance and sending it through a number of different channels to make sure that it complies with what the board required, as well as what is in the best interest of the county. And then also a lot of the other entities that I named earlier. So we've had a couple of these meetings before where we've talked about the process. I will ask Janae, although it might take her a minute because I didn't tell her this before the meeting. We can link the most recent draft of the process in the chat. You're welcome to comment today on the process, although today's meeting is actually to focus specifically on the POC ordinance. So the Probation Oversight Commission was created via a county ordinance. It actually created the commission and a lot of the rules governing the commission. And as it's named, the Probation Oversight Commission, it focuses on providing oversight over the probation department for Los Angeles County. So this is new, doing the school resource deputy complaints, receiving and referring them. And therefore, we need to update the ordinance in order to give the POC the authority to do so according to the board motion. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit about the process, and then we'll jump right into the ordinance. If we can go to the next slide. And I'll say for those of you who may have joined late, my name is Wendy Julian. I'm the Executive Director of the Probation Oversight Commission, and welcome. So this is our document, the School Resource Officer Complaint Timeline. So the school resource deputies are LA Sheriff's Department deputies who work on school campuses through contracts with school districts. And there's been a body of research and information nationally, but also very specifically locally by the Office of the Inspector General about concerns that have come up about issues that occur on campuses. I'm sure we'll hear many of those from our public commenters today. We have received poignant and emotional comments from, in particular, parents over the last few months when we've been doing these meetings about information that about their children having experienced while they're in school and interacting with school resource deputies. And so the purpose of this new process is not to create a new investigative body or a new oversight body or any new investigative or oversight authority for the Probation Oversight Commission. What it is to create a new complaint process. So the complaint process will now come through the Probation Oversight Commission, although people will still be welcome to file their complaints directly with the sheriffs or directly with the OIG. But the investigation will happen by the Sheriff's Department, not by us. We will simply be tracking the complaints as they come in, making sure that the person who filed the complaint gets their response from the Sheriff's Department, and that we then report back to the board on information about the complaints that we've received, like where they've come from and what they're about, that type of information. So what a person will do is submit an online form, and if the person who's complaining isn't comfortable with an online form, we have a lot of other ways to do that, a paper form, or you can just call us and we'll help you fill out the form. We will respond, the Probation Oversight Commission will respond. We will contact the person who filed the complaint to make sure we have all the information we need. And then we will send that complaint in an organized fashion to the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department will confirm receipt, and we will share what will become a reference number that links our process with their process. The Sheriff's Department creates a reference number for each complaint. We'll make sure that everybody has that. LASD will conduct their investigation, and then the complainant will be informed that the complaint has been received and processed. Then we will have an opportunity to share with the people who complain about appeals processes that are available through the Sheriff's Department. So this doesn't change anything about the Sheriff's Department complaint process. It really is just a new window of opportunity for folks to make complaints through the Probation Oversight Commission in a format that feels, we hope, safer and more neutral, and then a way for the tracking to happen. So what comes next is changes to our ordinance. So we can go to the next slide. So County Council has put in a lot of work to making these changes to the ordinance. Although I will say, I think it's actually the process that most impacts community members, the process that I just briefly went over and that you can see linked in the chat. But the ordinance is the most official change and the change that needs to be specifically approved by the board. They also have to approve the process. So we'll go through line by line what the changes are. So we can go to the next slide. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this one I'm just going to read because I think it really clearly gives an overview of what we're doing. So we're advising the advisory commissions and committees of the LA County Code relating to the Probation Oversight Commission to authorize us to receive and refer to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department complaints related to school law enforcement services provided by LASD, including services provided by school resource deputies, and report on concerns and trends related to those complaints. So that's basically what we're doing to change the ordinance. And we can go next. So we have put this into sections. Actually, you can go back one. So the ordinance is divided into a number of sections, and County Council needed to go through each section and make changes just to make sure that overall the ordinance provides the authority necessary to be able to give the Probation Oversight Commission the proper authority to do this process. So the first section is purpose. You can go forward. So this is a lot of changes that clarify that the Probation Oversight Commission will be able to also advise the Board of Supervisors about issues related to the sheriff. But you'll see that in every place here, it is very limited to issues about the sheriff relating to law enforcement services provided for a school. So not about law enforcement services in general, but about school resource deputies. You can go next. And Janae, you probably already did this, but we can have a link to this presentation as well in the chat. Okay, next step is definitions. This one's actually really straightforward. You go to the next slide. There we go. So it gives the POC the ability to receive complaints about the probation department or any law enforcement service for a school provided by LASD, including SRDs and other LASD personnel providing law enforcement functions for a school. And then you'll see it just adds the word LASD after a number of the places where it lists department, so that it'll be inclusive. Next page. Again, this is just adding LASD to be clear. Next page. Next section is around authority. Okay, so this is probably the most deep content change. So around the authority of the Probation Oversight Commission. So it adds the sentence, in addition, the commission shall serve in an advisory capacity to the Board of Supervisors and the sheriff relating to law enforcement services provided for a school within the county. And then also will not direct the activities of county employees or impose discipline. This is actually just moving the language around, but making sure that it is clear that this does not provide authority over the sheriff's department beyond the services provided for school resource deputies. Next. This just adds a very simple sentence allowing the Probation Oversight Commission to advise the Board of Supervisors and LASD about our findings around the complaints. Next. Okay, and then address complaints. So there already was a section in the Probation Oversight Commission ordinance about complaints that obviously relates to complaints about the probation department. The ordinance requires for there to be a relationship between the Probation Oversight Commission and the Inspector General around the actual investigation arm. And so you'll see some language here around addressing complaints. So staff of the commission may develop procedures and guidelines, which is what we've already shared with you all, referring to the probation department, LASD, and school districts as appropriate, including complaints concerning probation employees, any matters affecting the well-being of youth and adult under the department's supervision, and complaints relating to school law enforcement provided by LASD. And I will say, you may see that the language here is a little bit wider than just saying school resource deputies. And that's because in reviewing the board motion, County Council and the Probation Oversight Commission determined that the language is pretty clear, that includes both school resource deputies who are sort of permanently assigned through contracts to schools, and also LASD employees, sheriff's employees who are providing services on schools for special events or other contracted services. And go to the next page. Okay, so this just adds the language about the sheriff limited to LASD related issues or complaints. Finally, on reporting, this is required by the board motion. It requires us to provide reports to the Board of Supervisors about this issue. So this is the very specific periodic reports about concerns and trends related to school resource deputies and LASD school law enforcement services. And that's it. So you can take the slideshow down for a little bit. Thank you. So we're really looking forward to presenting this to the board. I want to tell you a couple of things that we have heard from partners and the public that we want to incorporate into the language of the process, not into the ordinance. So I will say one of the items that we heard at the Civilian Oversight Commission joint meeting that we hosted with the Probation Oversight Commission, that might have been just about a month ago now, was a real desire to avoid confusion for people who want to make a complaint. So we have talked about a number of ways to do that. And we actually have been thinking about this along with some of our county partners, in particular LACO and the school districts. So what we've decided is that we will be communicating directly with people who make complaints. And by that, I mean on the phone, like picking up the phone and calling folks to help them understand what the process is and who will be doing the investigation. In other words, not us, but the LA Sheriff's Department. And also to ensure that we're actually talking about the type of complaints that we are eligible to receive. So we want to make sure that people understand that this is not a separate complaint process from the Sheriff's Department. So if they've already filed a complaint with the Sheriff's Department, this would be a duplicative process. If they've already asked OIG to file a complaint with the Sheriff's Department on their behalf, this would be a duplicative process. Also, if they have a complaint about a school resource officer who is not a personnel of the LA Sheriff's Department, we cannot take or process that complaint. So we'll want to share with people the information about where to go to be able to make their complaint appropriately. And if it's about a school and not about a law enforcement officer at all, then we want to be able to work directly, link directly to the universal complaint process to ensure that the school districts are able to process the complaints in the way that they would be able to, which doesn't change their process at all. So I really appreciate that feedback. The other feedback that you may have heard at that meeting is beyond the scope of this ordinance change or the process, which is a lot of concern about transparency from the Sheriff's Department in terms of how those investigations of the complaints will operate. So since the Probation Oversight Commission will not, in fact, be investigating any of the complaints, that's not allowed under the ordinance change. But I do think I want to acknowledge how important the feedback has been from members of the public, advocacy groups, and others talking about how it's necessary for the Sheriff's Department to be to move toward a transparent process in terms of reporting on complaints. And I'm pleased to say that I've felt very confident about the responses that I've heard from the folks we've been working with at the Sheriff's Department about their desire to also move in that direction. But unfortunately, that is not a part of this process at this moment. So it is really limited to creating the new complaint process and changing the ordinance to give the Probation Oversight Commission the authority to do so. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and welcome you to ask questions, share your public comments. Like I said, we're not going to do a timer today. We're just going to listen to you because I want to hear what you have to say. And we will be sharing this recording with the Probation Oversight Commissioners. County Council is here today listening, and we will look forward to incorporating your feedback into both the ordinance and the process before we bring it to the board, which hopefully will be happening shortly. So with that, if you'd like to make comments, please use the raise your hand function. If you're on your phone, dial *3 and we'll put you in the list. It's going to be a really short meeting if nobody wants to make comments. Janae, I'm not seeing any hands raised. I am going to ask you if you could unmute, or actually maybe even promote Amara, just to make sure I didn't miss anything in that presentation. Should have done that to begin with.
I think I'm on the panel, but
Okay, great.
no, that was great, you know, and
Amara, I can't hear you very well. I don't know whether that's just me.
I don't know, sometimes WebEx is not as great as Teams, but I'm screaming now, and that was an excellent presentation.
No, it's Janae, is that just my end, or are you having trouble hearing as well?
The audio is coming through. It's just kind of low.
Okay. Can we try that again, Amara?
Yeah, let me see if I can find.
Oh, that's much better.
Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you everybody for your work on it. And yeah, I don't think there's anything missing. And I know that, you know, pending any other large comments on the ordinance, I think we can discuss taking it back to cluster at your next regular presentation or possibly before then.
Thank you. And for those of you in attendance, Public Safety Cluster is the meeting of the justice deputies who work for the board offices, who generally review items in that subject area like this before they go to the board. So that would be the interim step before it goes to the board. I don't see any hands raised. I'm surprised. We have some folks on the list who generally give us public comment, but I don't want to cut you off. I'm hoping the hand raise function is working, but I'm not going to force anyone to give public comment. Janae, any reason to think that the hand raise function isn't working?
It should be working.
It's working because Chair Mundo just raised his hand, but I know it's not because he wants to speak, but thank you. All right, well, I think given that, I will thank you all. It is definitely working. I think we will wrap up today, but I will say you have now the copy of the proposed process of the proposed ordinance. We really welcome any feedback that you have. We have received some feedback since the ordinance was made public. I think it was 2 weeks ago, to some of our county partners that County Council has and is in the process of reviewing. But any members of the public or any of our other county partners, if you wish to share public comment with us in writing, please send me an email directly or send an email to info@poc.lacounty.gov. And with that, I think we will put this recording on our website and invite people to comment that way, and wish you all a very happy afternoon. Thanks, everyone.